He's gone very negative in his old age. Let's get some subject matter, though, for him that always brings out the homerific stuff in him. He's written a column for the Miami Herald saluting the new regime for fumigating the place, for getting rid of Tyreek Hill. They gave him an extension 18 months ago. Quiet as it's kept. Bradley Chubb's gone, too. He was the last piece. Remember that? Final piece. They actually gave him giant money as a final piece. All we need is pass rush. This will win us the championship.
Right. And he had 8.5 sacks last year, which led the team after missing the entire 24 season. But it's all money related. You know, they're trying to save on cap space and get themselves up out of trouble because they know that they may have to cut Tua without a trade partner and end up eating almost $100 million. So
you wrote that it's long overdue. This is horrifying to me to watch. 25 years in of this again. You just 18 months ago, you told me Tyreek Hill was the future and that this was going to be the offense, and you gave him all sorts of money. Now he's guaranteed $35 million. I got Mike Florio saying every team wants him. Chiefs want him, Patriots want him, Bills want him, Chargers want him, McDaniel wants him. Like, how do you get to the point, Ravens want him? How do you get to the point where, again, 26 years into this, you're starting over from ground zero?
Right.
You don't have any players. You don't have any. You've got Achane, and you don't have any players.
Well, you have Jalen Waddle and a few others. I mean, they're not starting from scratch. But when I say that this is a complete rebuild, it's that there's no Chris Greer anymore. Like that's significant that they finally got rid of the GM who was at the center of all this 20 years of failure.
Greg, forgive me for this because Bradley Chubb, was brought in as a final piece. For the Dolphins to think it's some sort of addition, to fumigate the entire place, get everyone out of there, get rid of everything that revolves around the past, and start over with no players that anyone has any allegiances to. It's just such a failure of management that has no comp anywhere other than maybe the Jets. And the Jets in the last 25 years, the Jets made it deep into the playoffs.
They're going to be so bad next year. I'm talking like 2 or 3 win kind of, like number 1 overall pick kind of bad. And it's going to be really difficult to judge if Jeff Hafley has any idea what he's doing. They're going to be that kind of bad. But
that's how Flores did it. We thought they were going to be that kind of bad, and then they ended up winning a few games, and it was great coaching. Coaching is great. Look, they've got young promise. But I'm more frustrated by the idea of this is as big a rebuild as I've ever seen around here.
Oh, but Flores' first year was that 7 years ago. It was the same thing.
And you're acting like they didn't need a big rebuild.
I'm not acting like anything other than I can't believe 26 years in with no playoff appearances this century that the answer in 2026 is I'm not complaining that it's so. I can't believe it's so.
Seems like you're sitting on the fence, though. Like, if Greer was still around, I feel like we'd be criticizing that, too.
Yeah, I want you to be clear. Are you arguing for now's the time for cohesion, or you're just frustrated as a Dolphin supporter that they find themselves yet again here at a rebuild?
What I am saying that is startling to say out loud, once you've waived Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, you have announced to the entirety of the league that you're in a position that none of them are in. It's basically the Raiders, the Jets, maybe Cleveland, even the Titans have hope at quarterback. You're in a position as the Miami Dolphins after 25 years of being rewarded for not being good enough, because the teams that aren't good enough get rewarded for that. 25 years of those rewards, and we're starting all over again, all over in a way that doesn't have players on the field that anyone cares about.
That situation was not announced yesterday with Tyreek Hill and Chubb leaving. That situation was announced when they fired Greer, when they fired McDaniel, and then when they got to a point where they were in dire straits money-wise. I mean, they just had no choice but to they saved $56 million. I know nobody likes to talk about the salary cap. They saved $56 million Monday against the cap.
here's the problem.
Why?
Though.
Because they may end up eating $100 million with Tua.
And so if you want to celebrate accounting on this day, I will remind you Miami gave up a 1, a 2, 2/4, and a 6 for Tyreek, and a 1 for Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, the old regime did, which is why the old regime isn't
not
anymore.
A postseason victory to show for it. It is an apocalyptic failure of management.
Former management. You're right.
What you're hearing in my voice is just frustration about the idea that Bradley Chubb played what was final piece years here and don't remember a play he made. I'm not saying he didn't make plays because he did have sacks and he did make a few plays, but his career as a final piece has no playoff victories.
It's weird when I tell you he was here for 4 years, right? Like, it doesn't seem like he was here for 4 years.
It doesn't.
That's a long time.
The Tyreek Hill thing, I would argue, worked out. That was a good acquisition.
He had 2 great seasons.
Yeah, that was a successful acquisition.
I think we'll look back on Tyreek Hill's time here and say that, he was a major positive overall. Like, you look at the last 2 years
on the field.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean he's in the gutter off the field. All right, but
he was sports washed at least in part because the first 2 years he brought a hope that hadn't been seen around here since Marino.
I mean, I think he's the 3rd greatest offensive player the Miami Dolphins have ever had. I mean, Marino's obviously number 1. I think Ricky's number 2, and then Tyreek Hill's number 3. If you want to switch Ricky and Tyreek, fine. But top 3 offensive player of all time, and those first 2 years that he was here are the best 2 years you've had as a Dolphin fan this century.
Right.
And he was like right at the center of it.
Okay, and they still didn't win a playoff game.
How many times do the Dolphins have the best offense in football? Right? Like, go back 20, 30 years.
You got to go back
happened.
to Marino somewhere in the late 80s.
Somewhere in the late 80s. And then this guy with a quarterback that you're going to end up eating $100 million dead money on, those 2 guys with the coach that you fired schemed up an offense, scored 70 points against one of the best defenses we've seen 2 or 3 years later. Right? Like, this era of Dolphins football is kind of encapsulated in that one game, Broncos versus Dolphins, where the entire trajectory of both franchises changed at that very moment.
I am confused, though, with, I read your column this morning, Greg. How about that? I read your column. And I am confused with your overall stance on it, that it's long overdue, this rebuild. Which, by the way, they did attempt to do this rebuild 7 years ago, and they were in a much better spot then because there's no Laramie Tunsil on this team. There's no head start to rebuild with Laramie Tunsil. Don't even give me Paul. You don't even know his first name. You don't even know if that's his first or last name. All right, so don't give me Paul. But I am confused with your column because you're saying how it's long overdue, this rebuild, but you're very famously still wanting another chance for Tua. Like, you don't think Tua's done. It can't be both there. Like, you can't think that they might still have a quarterback but also be all in on a rebuild. Those two don't go together.
The rebuild means they needed to get rid of Chris Greer. If you're going to get rid of Chris Greer and bring in the general manager they did, that means they're going to bring in a new head coach again. I like the fact that for the first time in almost all of these 20 years we're talking about, they have a new regime, a total new regime, a new GM and a new head coach. As far as the quarterback goes, I thought they gave up Tua too soon, but I'm trying to deal with reality here. If they're hell-bent to get rid of Tua, they have to save as much money as they can. They're going to get Malik Willis. He's going to be an okay quarterback, and they're going to have enough money, presumably, to get some other pieces that they need. I think they needed to restart. Tyreek Hill's washed. I'm fine to get rid of him, and I don't care that the Chiefs and some other teams are looking for a one-year fix with Tyreek Hill. They needed to save all that money on him. And Bradley Chubb, he's also good. He's good, but the money offsets that.
You traded Jalen Phillips at the end of last year. The part that I want to put in front of you guys, because I don't think it's overreaction of the day, when I say the present predicament where you've got so much money tied up in a quarterback that you're not going to use and you don't yet have a quarterback,
right,
puts Miami in a position I've never seen them in. There's no reason for fans to have an allegiance to a player on this team. Okay. You've got Achane, you've got Waddle, and then you're like, what's here after 26 years of all of this? What's here that I'm supposed to care about? I've never seen the franchise in this particular condition where the longtime Homer columnist is saying, yep, cleanse the whole place. It's long overdue, and there's no hope. Like, maybe Malik Willis will be a good quarterback. He's young. Maybe they'll figure out something, a way to 6 wins or something like that. But I don't think I can remember seeing it like this, where it's not just that you don't have a quarterback. You don't know who your next quarterback's going to be. That quarterback is strangling you with a salary cap, and you don't have any players anybody else wants.
Yeah, and everything you say is the fault of the old regime. Give the new regime a chance. I don't know who you're complaining against, because the people you're complaining against are all gone now.
What I'm saying is that they've left the Dolphins in a position that very few teams in the history of this league have been in.
Correct. Which is why they have a new GM and a new head coach.
I'm just saying the Raiders have, to show for their recent misfortune, they have a tight end and a running back.
And the number 1 overall pick.
Like, there are reasons to hope there. Like, Cleveland's an eternal mess, but
they're worse. You can point to them and say, well, Myles Garrett's fun.
They're actually not worse, because Myles Garrett could be their Laramie Tunsil, and they can get a head start on rebuilding.
They do have a Pro Bowl quarterback, too.
That got to you late, huh?
It did. I had to catch up to that one.
What happened? What happened?
Let's not over-exaggerate by saying the Dolphins have nothing. They have one of the best, fastest running backs in the league. Jalen Waddles is a good wide receiver. They have a Pro Bowl center. Not that anybody pays attention to the offensive line. They do have some pieces to build around.
Greg, you got 53 roster spots.
Right.
There have to be a couple of players on there. I'm saying that look around the league and look around the history of the Dolphins and give me all the times they've been in this position. This particular position, I'm going to say they've never been in it.
I think this is the worst.
Yeah. I think we all agree. The disagreement is that I think I'm giving the new regime a chance, and I'm saying Monday was a good sign by getting rid of a lot of older players.
Well, who's not giving the new regime a
saving
chance?
$55 million.
I think everyone's giving the new regime a chance. Like, who's not giving them a chance?
I mean, Dan's acting like they're partly to blame.
Look, this all you're hearing in my voice is the frustrated analysis of where they find themselves. The people hired to do this are part janitor, part fumigator. This is the job. I'm just frustrated that this is the disrepair that this franchise has been left in after 25 years of rewards because you're not any good, and so you're getting. People in the NBA tank to get some of the advantages that the Dolphins have had because they keep stinking and not making the playoffs. You're supposed to get better with you're supposed to have more than what you just said when you've traded, when Waddle's your top 5 pick. When you're picked the way Waddle is picked in the top 10, Waddle has to be a star. Waddle is at almost the bare minimum of what that pick is giving you in terms of value because you're paying him plenty. And you're getting not a number 1 receiver.